This is the rhythm of change. This is the sound of redemption. This is the way that we bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. Igniting the fire within you. Exalting the melody of freedom. These are the things that will bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. So gather the faithful. Tell everyone to stand and shout loud. Shout loud. Shout loud. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Down, down, down.
Let me tell you, it's in the air. Joy is in the air. Love is in the air. Can you feel it? What it feel like? Freedom. What it feel like? Don't sleep on it, brother. You might get left, sister. Can you feel it? What it feel like? Freedom. What it feel like? Justice. No need to be counted, cause I am down. Down, down, down. Down, down, down. Down for the end of racism, for the end of bigotry, cause I am down. For the end of misogyny, that's right. For all the isms out there, just down, down, down. Let's bring it down. Rise up, people. No more foolishness, and let's bring it way down.
Riding the river of change into the cries of contrition. This is the way that we bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. We are the children of Eden, dancing and celebrating freedom. We are the ones that must bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. So gather the faithful. Tell everyone to stand and shout loud. Shout loud. Shout loud. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. We've got to bring it down. Down. Stand up and shout. Stand up and shout. Rise together.
Accountability starts now. The Eric Dawson Radio Show.
Yeah. Rise up. Stand up, shout it loud.
If you are not prepared to come to that table and to represent that voice, don't come. Because we don't need more brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice. We don't need black faces that don't want to be a black voice. We don't need Muslims that don't want to be a Muslim voice. We don't need queers that don't want to be a queer voice. And if you're worried about being marginalized and stereotyped, please don't even show up.
Kevin Jenkins.
Well, I'm showing up, Eric. I'm showing up.
I'm showing up and I'm showing out.
Eric, I went to sleep for 9 hours yesterday. I feel like a teenager. I'm going to talk a lot of mess.
Like a teenager?
Well, not quite, but.
Well, you know, I put a picture up of you once, remember?
What?
That I
What are
had
you
on the show?
talking about?
And you look like you were about 18 in that picture, man.
Well, I got a picture I'm going to show you. If I give it to you, you'll bust out laughing. Somebody said I never age. I said, that's a lie. I age every day. I got every wrinkle for it, buddy. I got every pain for it. Every football injury, every baseball, every broken ankle, I feel it every day, Eric. Eric.
Yes, sir.
The Democratic Party has imploded.
Kevin, I'm black.
It's over. I'm a Democrat. I'm black.
I'm black.
I'm black.
I'm black.
Eric, I have never in my lifetime, Eric. Hold on, Eric. Eric, I've seen some bad things happen in politics.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've seen it. You know, we're not novices. We understand this. But I got to tell you, the Democratic Party is the most hypocritical group of people I've ever met in my life. I mean, from the top to the bottom. You know, they're sabotaging and rigging their own elections. They're proving this lunatic in the White House has some sense, because he said all along, y'all were rigging the elections. You were doing. I mean, it's a hot mess, man. You got to explain this one to me, Eric. I mean, just keep it clean. Eric, what is going on with the Democratic Party? You got them all on TV murdering each other, talking about Perez. You even had Bill Clinton's old campaign manager on, who I love to death. He's about 80 now, but he looks 80. And he was just ripping the Democrats to death. And he's a real Democrat, you know?
Yeah. Hey,
it's a mess, man.
Well, you know what's interesting, though, Kev? Oh, wait a minute. How do you like the hat?
Oh, I love the hat. ADOS hat. I can't wait to wear mine.
So, see, you got to start repping what you are. What is it? Know thyself?
Know thyself. On the great temple of Luxor in Egypt, which is actually Kemet. Egypt is, you know, another name. But on the temple of Luxor, it says, man, know thyself.
And not
man, know thyself.
And not only do I want to be more in tune with who I am, but I want it to be clear to other people who I am. You see, and so
you know. So let me ask you a question. You're not afraid to be black?
Not only am I not afraid to be black, Kevin, I'm not afraid to be ADOS. See.
Oh, you're not afraid to be ADOS? You're not afraid?
I'm not afraid to be ADOS.
You don't think like you're a radical person to identify with your blackness?
I am radical.
You gonna make me jump on this chair.
But see, we have to not redefine, but we have to revisit what radical means.
Absolutely,
see, we celebrated a guy on his birthday, Martin Luther King, right? And everybody, see, people are uncomfortable with him being radical, right? That's why they diluted him and watered him down to "I have a dream," right? But he was radical, right? What did he say? He said we need political and economic power.
Right. Let me ask you a question, Aaron.
Yep.
Would you give up your blackness?
No.
Okay.
Hey, Kev, listen. Can I tell you something too?
Are you proud to be black?
Listen, most white people wouldn't want my blackness. Kevin, come on, let's tell the truth. See, all these people, right? Come on, Kevin.
No, I'm going to tell you why I asked you that question.
But they wouldn't, would they? These same people who say to you as a black person, they say to you, get over it. Get over it. Get over it. Like one of the posts that I have where I have the shirt and the hat. Stop complaining, pick yourself up.
Accept your condition.
Yeah, my thing is, let's switch for one day. You jump off a roof. You slit your wrist, right? So they don't want it, and I'm not willing to give it up. But I'm willing to fight for it and make it better. And the only way to do that is economic and political power.
At least you didn't do what Oprah Winfrey did.
Yeah, Kevin.
when she said she had hoped to have been white. Remember that?
No.
Listen, I think all communities of all people of this earth that have good intention, good hearts, no matter what color they are, we should celebrate who they are. But, we know that in this world we live in, there's some real mean people. And you know what? And we all have to work together to get rid of those people. But I had to ask you that question.
Yeah.
Are you proud to be a black man?
I am. But you know what, though, Kevin?
Too.
I'm going to tell you something. And, I refuse to mention some names. But I'll talk about the posts, right? So, an appointed official in Newark posted that he would be supporting Mike Bloomberg. And I got to tell you, I'm looking down the thread, and there are people who I guess I thought were dialed in and tuned in and were unplugging themselves from the Matrix, Kevin. But they're all saying, the more I look at it, the more I'm thinking about voting for Mike. And Kevin, I got to tell you, man, it is deeply disturbing. So we got to keep shaking and waking people. So here's the deal. And the only thing the couple questions I want to ask. See, because some of these people, the same people who said before Corey dropped out, I'd vote for Corey. And now they say, I vote for. But these are all people who are voting against their interests and voting against your interests. Right? They have they were interested in supporting Corey because they believed that Corey was going to drop money in New Jersey. And they were going to benefit from that. Now, Mike Bloomberg, they say, is doubling his staff and doubling his campaign spending. And so all of these but we talked about it, Kevin. They're going with their brown paper bags, running to Uncle Mike now, saying, hey, I want to be on your campaign. I want to show you what a great slave catcher and what a great Negro whisperer I can be. Just fill, like trick or treat, Candy, just fill my bag with money. And I'll do it for you, Mike. But it's all against your interest because Mike Bloomberg is not interested in helping you develop or gain economic or political power.
Mike Bloomberg owns the Democratic Party. End of discussion. Right? And with his money, with his power, with his influence, with him now being the CEO and chairman of the Democratic Party, says everything to me. And anybody that believes, and what did I say earlier in the year? What did I tell you? I said I liked Bloomberg, did I not?
Yeah.
And then we did some analysis of Bloomberg's record, right? And I said I liked a lot of the things that he did in New York City. And once we did our analysis from a black perspective and who we should invest in, I said I cannot vote for a guy.
See, the question
it's real simple for me.
Right.
I might like this person for something that it did, but when it comes to leading me, or when it comes to leading this country, or if it comes to understanding the plight of the Black American, the foundation of Black American, he's not my guy.
Right.
Now he can be a zillionaire. He's just not my guy. And for him to come up there, and let me tell you where he really insulted me the most, for me personally, is when he went to make the announcement that he had a plan for Black America. I mean, he had a plan for Black America. And so he said, listen, I know how to deal with black people. Let me tell them that I understand your pain. Let me tell you that I'm going to get $60 million. Because we think so small. I told you we're a cheap date. Then he goes to Oklahoma, right? Where all the horror and death actually happened. I mean, the gateway to hell, right? And he stands up there with black people, and they make this grand announcement on the bones of the dead people, that died there.
Right.
I thought it was an insult. I didn't take it as anything but I couldn't take it anyway but an insult, because that's what they normally do to us.
Well, look,
they give us a nostalgia pill. Look, Eric, they give us that nostalgia pill, and we forget everything.
Well, here's the thing: we have been successful. We have been successful, and we're marching forward. We're pressing forward. We canceled Corey. We canceled Kamala.
You gotta get a buzzer.
We canceled Beto. Right? We canceled all of them. Now we're canceling Biden, and we now need to cancel Bloomberg. Here's the question to ask. No matter what you want to say he's done in New York or what he's done in his business, I ask you to look at the key performance indicators in the black community and tell me how anything he did helped black people. That's all I'm asking you. So we could talk about how he helped other people, how he helped the business industry, we got all of that. We're not in the, let me say this, because we are in the fight for other people, and that's our problem. But we shouldn't be in the fight for other people. We should be in the fight for ourselves. We should be in the fight.
Bloomberg owns the party.
But
we said that. Did we not say that Bloomberg owned the party several weeks ago?
We did. But we should be in the fight for economic power, and we should be in the fight for political power. And if there's a candidate that you're supporting that is not talking specifically to you, not about how to give you a piece of candy or how to shove some money in your pocket or how to give you some sort of a program that'll keep you in hospice, but how to revive you, right? How you can gain a roadmap to gaining economic and political power, and that they're willing to be participants in the fight to get you there. And if they're not, then why are you voting for them? So the idea of saying, and I'm looking through the thread, Kevin, and it continues to be, get rid of Trump. Get rid of Trump. Your condition won't change. I want you to understand that. Tell me very specifically, for all of you who watch this show and can hear my voice, tell me specifically how Trump has impacted your personal life.
Well, can I be honest with you? I think the whole Trump debate is like, I'm over with it. Because what the Democrats have done is shown me that they are a bunch of intellectually dishonest, right, people that can't get out of their own way. I saw what Nancy Pelosi did. I wasn't attracted to anything that she did. She's an 80-year-old woman. She should have sat there and just sat through that mess and got through it. All of that drama, the women standing up with the white suits on.
It's all maximum sophisticated confusion.
You know, you say that this guy is crazy. And I agree. Yeah. We've said it. We've put him on. We put a pin in Trump already. But you're just as crazy.
Right.
It's all Mac. You said it's all maximum sophisticated. She gets up. She rips the paper. She makes like she's not paying attention. It's like all drama going away. Let me finish. Let me finish. But it doesn't help what we're talking about here. None of that stuff that's happening out there in their world, because they're both the same groups, if you ask me, is helping anything to make this community better. And guess what? All of the black folk that are in Congress, that are in the Senate, they still are not having a conversation with us. The Democrats are not talking to you because they know that you as a black American are going to go and give your power away, give your political power away, and you're going to vote 100% for them, and they're going to say, now, not this time, but the next time, as they always tell us. I got to tell you something.
They've already said it. But listen, let's understand why Nancy Pelosi did what she did. It was very clear. She did it because she wanted to steal the headlines. That's why she did it.
Okay, whatever the reason is.
She wanted to steal the headlines, right? Because Donald Trump, I think, gave a very measured State of the Union address last night.
He was on drugs. Look, whatever drug they gave him yesterday, it worked. They must have gave him an enema, or they just...
Yeah. No. He was the best. He was the best that he has been in a very long time. And,
I gotta tell you.
And I think that what Nancy did was she said, I gotta steal his thunder. And so she ripped that thing up, knowing that as a Speaker of the House, she was going to be asked about it. It was going to be talked about on all the news cycles. They just needed something to move away from two things. Move away from, and we got to talk about this, Kevin, the epic fail of Joe Biden in Iowa. So
wait. Let's leave this. Do me a favor. I got Joe Biden. Well, let's stick with the Democratic Party as a whole right now. You know, they're a criminal party. They went in and rigged the Iowa Caucus. That's exactly what they did. They rigged it. They rigged the Iowa Caucus.
Why they rig it, Kev?
They rigged it because they wanted to make sure that Bernie Sanders or any other candidate like Warren or any of those guys would rise up and be able to win this nomination. They are going to destroy. From my perspective right now,
right,
they have destroyed their chances. What they have done is they have empowered the Republicans at a whole nother level.
Right.
Because we really don't know everybody that's going to vote for Trump. That's the other big dark secret. But I got to tell you, the Democrats ruined it for themselves. On the impeachment, I said I thought it was wrong. What they did in Iowa, I thought was wrong. And this whole push for Buttigieg is the biggest con job in political history. But it goes to show you that redhead crazy guy that had an enemy yesterday said the system is rigged. Don't buy it. They're all lying to you. God bless you. And guess what? He spoke right to his base. You know what the Democrats did? The Democrats spoke to their base too.
Right.
We don't like you. We're going to do anything we want to do to you.
Right. So here's my take, guys, on what they did in Iowa. After further analysis, they realized. So I want to go back to the poll that never came out that was supposed to come out, right? And Buttigieg intervened and said that there was some discrepancy, and so they didn't release that poll. That poll would have shown more so than Buttigieg. It would have shown that that Biden was polling in third or fourth or maybe even fifth place, and that would have happened 1 or 2 days before the caucus. Now I want you to understand what the headlines would have been had that poll come out for the Democratic Party, showing that their guy, the guy that everybody is putting their money and their time, their energy behind, was polling fourth or fifth, right? So they stunted the poll. They didn't release the poll. Then comes election day or caucus day. As these numbers are coming in, they're seeing that Biden is failing miserably, not even getting 15% in some precincts, well below that. And so now they don't release the data, because if they had started to release the data, right, it would have shown well beforehand, and it would have started the news cycle as the precincts were reporting. It would have shown that Biden failed. They held that all that time, and I want you to understand, they colluded with that app company. I'm talking about Democratic Party. They all were in collusion for Biden and for saving face for the Democratic Party and Joe Biden. Joe Biden gets out of Iowa. Right? He leaves the scene of the crime, the bloody mess of him being in fourth, possibly fifth place. Because today, as of today, which is crazy, right? Only 73% has reported. As of we have data for only 73% of the precincts. Biden's gone now. It still hasn't fully hit the news that Biden had an epic fail. That's what it's about. So the criminality.
I think Biden is done.
But it goes beyond Biden, and it goes to your point that the Democratic Party isn't looking out for the best interest of their constituents. Right?
They're not talking to anybody in America whatsoever.
They're talking to themselves, and they're saying, hey, what's our next move?
No. They're not even doing that. Oh, no, I beg to differ, Eric. They're arguing on TV. You got to turn all the channels. They're fighting each other.
No, I told you. I'm boycotting MSNBC.
No, I'm not even talking about MSNBC.
I'm boycotting Channel 7. I'm boycotting all of this. I'm listening to Fox News now.
Eric, you got to see. No, okay, well, I'm listening to the other side this morning, right? They're killing each other. They all got knives out. The whole Democratic establishment is killing each other. And let me tell you, the person that benefits and loves this the most, I know you're going to laugh, I know you're going to fall out of your chair, is Hillary Clinton. Because she's behind all of this.
Yes, she is.
I know Hillary. She's behind all of this chaos. She's behind. She doesn't care who's the president. If I was not able to be the president, none of you are going to be the president. And hey, look, man, let me tell you something. That's a whole nother lady right there.
Yeah.
So think about it. So they have their knives out. They're saying that we don't have a message. They're saying that the candidates aren't the best candidates we have. They're saying that basically all of these candidates are going to lose against Trump. We can't believe how dysfunctional the party is. Whoever wins, if the Democrats don't win or whatever, they need to get rid of Perez, which I think they should. And I'm saying they are, what do you call it, a spin. They're like in a spin, right? They don't know what to do. And guess what the Republicans are doing? There are not going to be any primaries. They're going to organize their data like they did the last election. They're going to run a tight election in 7 cities, and this guy possibly will win. Because the Democrats never had it right from day one. Yeah. I got to tell you, it's very interesting. I think it's great. Now, you see Bloomberg. Bloomberg is a crafty old guy. He is now in South Carolina running commercials with him and Obama. Incredible. He is in South Carolina cutting through Biden's black vote by running commercials every second, every minute, every millimeter of a second with him and Obama. It is incredible.
Hey, Kev, listen, man. I'm going to have to take a real quick commercial break. Well, not a commercial. I'm going to play a video. And the only reason I got to play a video, guys, is because I forgot my computer cord. And if I don't, then what we're going to do...
Oh, you better play that video.
Yeah,
I'm in a good mood today. Get that video cord.
So I'm going to play this video, and I'm going to click it off when I come back. But we're going to play this, and so you guys just check it out.
Thrives on divisiveness. Thrives on trying to divide us up. And I promise to you that as president, our administration will bring our people together.
A surging Bernie Sanders making a closing pitch for solidarity ahead of tonight's first in the nation nominating contest in Iowa. This amid reports that DNC insiders are looking at changing the rules of their national convention to stop Sanders from winning the nomination. Meanwhile, moderate Chief Buttigieg is painting Sanders as outside the American mainstream.
Look, I think politics that says that you're either for status quo or you're for revolution leaves most Americans out. There's another way, and that other way happens to be what most Democrats.
All right, I'm going to cut to one of our commercials, and then
Adding to the
we'll
drama in Iowa as if we needed more, Joe Biden's surrogate John Kerry was reportedly overheard in a hotel restaurant discussing, quote, the possibility of Bernie Sanders taking down the Democratic Party down whole.
Do you have loss prevention or safety concerns? Black Belt Security and Investigations has armed and unarmed guards that can protect what is important to you. For security you can count on, visit www.bbsillc.com or call 1-800-493-1859 today.
all right, guys. Thanks for staying in. And Kev, I'm glad we didn't say anything. We had a hot mic. But you know what? But it lets you know, right? So listen, we're completely transparent. We're good on every account.
Yeah, we had a hot mic. Our producer called us and texted us and said, you're talking over the commercial.
Oh, did she say that?
Yes, she did. She texted us. That's not my fault. That's not my fault.
No, it's my fault. I got a lot of stuff going on.
And then she says, quiet. You know? Hey, listen, I just think that the Democratic Party is just done, man. You know what? And we talked about this. Now, Eric, think about a year ago.
Hey, wait a minute. Tell the producer we didn't talk over her commercial.
We didn't talk over her commercial, right? So anyway, Eric, we talked about this a year ago. We said that the Democratic Party leading up to the convention was going to implode.
Right.
We said there was going to be complete chaos because the Democrats didn't have a message. They didn't effectively have a candidate at the moment. And if Bernie Sanders or any of those kind of progressives even made it close to the nomination, they were going to probably basically get killed. And not literally get killed. But and it's happening right before. I mean, listen, we couldn't have whiteboarded this better. Right? So now you get that crazy guy that gets up there yesterday and he performs. Right? Whatever they gave him, he performed. You got Nancy Pelosi ripping the paper behind, whatever the reason was. I just think sometimes this might be spontaneous, but the media picks up on it, even if it's not. Then you have all of the Democratic Party sitting there without, wait a minute, I got one better for you, because I'm losing my, did you see the response, the governor's response? I think she was from Illinois, and I forgot the state she was from. She was horrible. I'm like, where do they get these people from?
Yeah, well...
I mean, she was horrible. She was horrible.
Well, but again, let's understand, guys. Yesterday was pure theater that had nothing... Look, Kevin, we got to stay focused. And we got to stay black. We got to stay focused, and we got to stay black. And for those of you who are foundational black Americans, who are ADOS, know thyself. And now, once you get into that space, right? Once you get yourself into that space, you'll look and see that nothing that took place yesterday had anything to do with you. None of it. None of it. None of what Nancy did. None of what it was personal between Nancy and Trump, right? That's why she didn't shake his hand. I mean, he didn't shake her hand. All of those things. It had to do with them getting caught up in their feelings about trying to do their business. And now, because we are consumers of reality TV, right? We buy into it, we look at it, and then we become fixated on it, and then we get distracted from the real truth, which is none of what took place yesterday had anything to do with us. So Donald Trump talked about what a great economy we have. Well, let's drive through our neighborhoods and let's see if that's true. Right? Donald Trump talked about keeping America great, keeping it great. Right? Is it great for you? We talked about all of these things. We talked about the racial wealth gap. We talked about the education disparities. We've talked about redlining. We've talked about the poverty in our community. We've talked about the school to prison pipeline and the prison industrial complex. And we've talked about all of that. So you tell me in the midst of any of that where it's great. So when that man is standing up there saying it's great, talking about Wall Street and how strong the economy is and all these other things, and then painting this narrative about, how blacks are, a higher rate of unemployment, all these, you tell me if that is your reality. So once you realize it's not, the question is, how insulted were you? See, I had my hat on, Kev, while I was watching it. I did, because I wanted to be clear about who I see. You talking to me, and that's the question you got to ask. Are you talking to me? Now, there's some people that he's talking to, and there's some people that Nancy Pelosi's talking to. There's certainly some people Mike Bloomberg's talking to. The question is, are they talking to you?
Well, but there lies the greatest problem. They're not talking to us, and they don't have to. Wait a minute. Let's be clear. They don't have to talk to us. Why? We don't have any political power. We don't have any economic power. We're just tools to their wealth. We're the wealth to their commodity. We're the commodity to their wealth. So they don't have to talk to us. So when you ask that question, I'm going to answer it as quickly as I can. They don't have to talk to us. The people that are locally elected in these cities that we live in don't even talk to us. Your teachers don't even talk to you. Nobody talks to you. Nobody talks to you. Nobody wants to be bothered with you because you're a cheap date.
Hey, listen.
Nobody's courting us anymore because we're a cheap date.
Hey, Kevin.
So I want to ask you a question before you go further.
Go ahead.
Explain to me the girl Nina Turner in the DNC. What happened to that young lady? The young lady that worked for Bernie Sanders.
What do you mean? What happened?
They did not allow her to cast a vote. The DNC didn't allow her to cast a vote for Bernie Sanders, and they basically ostracized her from the Democratic Party, a party that she's been involved in all of her life.
I didn't know. I didn't hear.
Yeah. So all right, let me give you a little backdrop. Well, come on. Listen, I can't follow everything on Bernie Sanders. That's what you're supposed to do.
Wait.
The young lady that was arguing, Nina Turner, I think her name was, yes.
Yeah, the former senator from Illinois.
Right, and she was arguing on MSNBC when she called Bloomberg an oligarch.
Correct.
And Bloomberg is an oligarch.
Right. But you said something about her trying to vote for him?
No, but then later in that day, right, that cycle, I'm just trying to give some context to it, when she went to cast a vote in the Iowa Caucus, she's a, Diane would do better with this, she is a delegate.
Right.
And there was supposed to be a vote that she was supposed to be able to vote on, and she was going to vote for Bernie Sanders, and they stopped her. They sanctioned her and basically kicked her out.
Huh. I have to look into that.
It's really interesting. Now, these are Democrats killing each other, and disrespecting them. This is a woman that's given her life to the Democratic Party. So when we talk about, why do we give our full support to a Democratic Party that doesn't respect us or doesn't honor us or doesn't understand what we need or saying about our communities? Look how they treated that black woman.
Yeah, I'm Googling it. If somebody can pull that up or if somebody knows about it, let me know where the...
a delegate, yes. And thank you, Jody, a delegate, because my brain's not working.
But
we're going to find the story. But let's just put it in context. Here's a black woman who has dedicated herself to a party and who has fought for whatever those democratic principles are, because I don't understand them. And because she has a difference of opinion about the party and what the party is doing as it relates just not to her candidate, but speaking to the rest of America, they ostracized her. They actually kicked her out. She was not able to cast her vote. Which I was offended by. So Perez, who I have issues with from day one, remember when Perez became the chairman, I said this is a disaster, right? I mean, he's an old union prop-up guy. He doesn't represent anything that I believe in. So, but they stopped this young lady from casting her vote as a delegate. Now, I like her. You know why I like her? She's strong. She's got a great voice, no matter who our candidate is, but she's doing the work. And to have one of those talking heads on MSNBC challenge her about if Bloomberg is an oligarch or not was the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life.
So again, if you could pull, so I can't speak to the
I'll pull it up
because
I'll pull it up. Don't worry about it. I'll pull it up.
Because I can't find it.
I'll pull it up.
Yeah, but for them to challenge her on the oligarch thing, I thought was absolutely absurd. But what it did was it showed, as you said, Kevin, that Mike Bloomberg owns the Democratic Party, and so when he was challenged, when she was trying to open eyes, and you know what you've noticed? Where's Eddie Glaude? What's that?
Oh, they got him off of that shit.
See, so what's happening now is that.
They got him off of that show.
all the people who are trying to wake you up, they say no more of this now. We have to lull these folks back to sleep. Listen, before we go further, I want to say, I got a text message, and this is like the 5th one that I've gotten, and somebody texted me and said they wanted a Atos Sun Visor. So those are coming, and there are a couple of people asked me, wait a minute, but there's some other people who asked me about Atos hats and about the hat that I have on. So I just want to say, right, and we're going to move on to the show, but I want you to be clear about this. And I talked to Kevin about this today. One of the things that I firmly believe, guys, is for us to really effectuate change, if we're really talking about seizing economic and political power, then we have to be more focused on being unified and supporting candidates who are aligned with that objective, which is economic and political power. So one of the things, right, people ask me about solutions. Kev, you always tell me don't give them no solutions, right? But here's a solution. See, so the conversations are cyclical, but we get things out of them, right? So here's some tangibles. Iconography. We talked about iconography. So for me, this is iconography. This says very clearly who I am, what I'm representing, what I stand for, right? And so in standing for this, I want to take proceeds from this and I want to put it directly into campaigns for folks who are not only willing to wear this hat, right, but rep our cause, which is fighting and seizing economic and political power. That's it in a nutshell. One of the things that is somebody, and so I text this to them, that we turn your mic down. Somebody said turn my mic down.
Okay, I'll turn mine down a little bit.
Oh, okay. So that's it. So yes, I will talk to you guys about how to get one of these, but just inbox me or something and we'll figure it all out. Anyway, but all of this, everything that we do on this show is about informing, engaging, and empowering you to figure out how to gain economic and political power, right? To understand your situation, know thyself, understand you, understand how they see you, and then do something about it. Something other than going into your house, locking your door, and pulling your shades down. Gotta fight.
Well, hey, listen. I'm glad we started off with the Democratic Party. I'm just so impressed with the Democratic Party. I'm just so happy. God bless the Democrats. I'm a Democrat, but I'm not a silly Democrat. So at the end of the day, I think that the race is going to be close. I think that as Iowa gets counted, I think that Bloomberg probably will win by a slim margin leading into New Hampshire. Not Bloomberg, but Bernie Sanders probably win by a slim margin. They just don't know how to lay that out right now. Right. I think that Buttigieg is a non-starter for me, and I'm quite sure as he gets close to stuff.
So here's what I want to say about Buttigieg, right? And it's crazy, but it shows you guys again why you have to have economic power in order to seize political power, right? So Buttigieg, who was a mayor of South Bend, Indiana, right, has over 40 billionaires who are funding his campaign. Buttigieg rose above all of these other people. U.S. senators, governors, right? This guy who was a mayor in South Bend, Indiana. Why is he where he is? Let us be clear about that. Money. They poured a ton of money, but this is the thing. That money buys you influence from Negro whisperers and slave catchers. And then they go out and they call it a ground game. They call it a ground. Hey, Kevin, back during slavery, did they call it a ground game too? When all the slaves were trying to run off the plantation and they sent their slave catchers after them? Was that a ground game?
No. They just created a system called convict leasing. That's all.
Right. So
vagrant laws. They passed vagrant laws to put you in jail and lock you up forever.
But that guy, I told you he was the devil. But here is the deal. And I told you also that we can't trust Elizabeth Warren, right? So Elizabeth Warren has a very, very clear role right now. And she's complicit in it. So make no mistake about it. Elizabeth Warren, if she was really down for tearing down the system, she would understand that she doesn't have a chance to win. Not because she's a woman, but she doesn't have a chance to win. And what she would do is whatever is necessary. She would sacrifice herself to tear down the system.
Oh, man, get out of here, man. You're out of your mind. Come on.
Let me
I disagree with you on that.
Let me finish my
She already raised $100 million. Finish your thought, because then you off the top. Go ahead.
So now she understands that her role in the Democratic in the campaign right now is to siphon votes from Bernie Sanders, right? Because the only other person in that progressive lane is she and Bernie Sanders. If she were to move out of the way, Bernie Sanders would have trounced in Iowa. It'd be no doubt that Bernie Sanders would trounce in New Hampshire, and Bernie Sanders would trounce in Nevada. And then it would be a clear path to the nomination.
Listen, I don't believe anybody should move out of anybody's way. Now, we've been canceling these candidates, I think, in a very quick way. No, I don't think that Elizabeth Warren is still competitive. We don't know how things are. So she ran third in the Iowa Caucus. She's probably going to run second or first in New Hampshire. Excuse me?
But whose team is she on?
Oh, wait, we're talking about the mechanics of politics, right?
No, I'm not talking
I don't care what she said. Oh, no, wait a minute, though, now. I heard what you said now. I'm saying to you, you're telling her she should drop out.
Yeah.
No, she shouldn't. I should say the same thing with Bernie Sanders. He must have had a weak team in Iowa that he couldn't. They was predicting that he was going to win Iowa by a landslide, and he did. So what happened?
But
how did Buttigieg get between Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders? Look, Elizabeth Warren has a base. Bernie Sanders has a base. Buttigieg's base is manufactured, because I don't know where the hell that came from. But let me tell you why Buttigieg did well in Iowa. 90% white. They don't reflect America. We should never be in Iowa.
That's not why he did well. That's not why he did well.
Listen, outside of having a ground team, whatever that nonsense is, the bottom line is this. He benefited from that state being 97% white.
Buttigieg did well because they looked at moderates, right? And you have two lanes right now. You have the moderate lane and you have the progressive lane, right? So in Iowa, the people who are moderates, they looked and said, well, we don't like Biden. There are two people who are viable in the moderate lane. You had Amy Klobuchar, but they looked and said, no, we're not going to do Amy. So they said, we got in the moderate lane, you got Biden and you got Buttigieg. In the progressive lane, you've got Sanders and you got Warren. So Buttigieg, with his money and the fact that he's moderate, he's siphoning votes off from, and Biden's kicking himself in the rear end too, right? He's just not a good candidate. But that's where those votes are coming from. It's not a matter of him being white. It's not doing him being white. Listen, how did Obama do in Iowa? How did Obama do in Iowa?
Regardless of how you want to scientifically break
how did Obama do in Iowa?
He has no business being in the middle of that pack whatsoever. Okay, he has no business being there. And Gorbachev, if that's the case, I didn't hear you say Gorbachev should walk away, but then Buttigieg should walk away because he is not going to win the nomination.
They all should walk. Yes.
Well, no, so that's not how the process goes.
Kevin,
they should just walk away.
No, listen. But what I'm suggesting to you is this, that there are two teams playing right now. You've got the progressive
I don't have a team.
I appreciate that. But you got two teams playing. You got the progressive team and you got the moderate team. What I know is Martin Luther King said, be afraid of the white moderate. Right? So now, if I'm going to follow that roadmap and be afraid of the white moderate, then I got to eliminate that team and say, well, the only team that's viable now is the progressive team. And again, when I look at Martin Luther King, who fought for, and I look at the things that he fought for, and I look at the folks on the progressive side and say, well, who's most aligned with what Dr. King fought for? Right?
Let me bring the Dr. Martin Luther King statement up to the 21st century. They're all the same to me, right? And that's my issue. I don't want anybody that's listening to us not to understand. All of them have gotten the benefit of their white privilege and their whiteness, and guess what?
I'm not denying that.
Wait a minute, let me finish you cannot stop me from talking.
I'm ADOS, Kevin, and I'm black.
Get out of here, Aaron. You're a mess. So anyway, make a long story short. Listen, none of these people are my team members. You know, there's going to be a decision that people are going to have to make about who they vote for. You know, and I'm quite sure that there's going to be a group of people voting for Bernie. I believe Warren is not going to be the nominee. I believe Buttigieg, believe it or not, will be left standing to the end. But when you really think about all of them and you put them all in a box, none of them still have not spoken to me directly. And that's all I want to tell everybody. Listen, you might like all these, that's fine with me. But really, like, speaking to me, giving me an understanding that you understand, not doing what Bloomberg did, which I thought was just condescending at a whole nother level, right. But having a dialogue that's not you telling me what you think I need from you. Like, really having a dialogue. When did you see a candidate really sit down with people that really understand and have a dialogue? You know what that dialogue is? What's his name? The straight-haired dude on TV, MSNBC, the Reverend Al. That's who they speak to for black people. They'll go and bring Kamala Harris and talk about black people. Right. No, nobody's having a conversation with black America.
We know why, Kevin, but we don't listen. But we don't deserve. Listen, we haven't done anything.
All right, but let me finish though. Let me finish. Okay, so you're right. I get that point. I get your point. Right. But no one has had that conversation, right? So when they talk about the racial wealth gap, they always put it in their little press pieces and say, oh, I met with Reverend Barber and we talked about the racial wealth gap. Oh, when they talk about health disparities, oh, I met with Nurse Betty from Texas and she's up and we talked about what we can do. No one's really talking to black America whatsoever, at any level. So when I'm saying however their mechanics is, whoever gets there first, who doesn't get there first, I'm looking for that candidate that's speaking to me directly.
But Kevin, stop. Okay, see, we gonna
get into it. What do you mean stop? How you gonna tell me to stop because I want somebody to talk to me?
But Kevin,
what do you mean? How you gonna tell me to stop because I want somebody to talk to me?
But Kevin.
Tell me you told me to stop because I want somebody to talk to me.
No, listen, you can want what you want, but here's the deal.
And that's why I'm not giving them what they want. That's why I'm hoping them a swift death.
Listen, we can want what we want, right? But the fact of the matter is, today, that's what Joe Biden says, right? The fact of the matter is, but the fact of the matter is this: they're not talking to us because we haven't demonstrated that there's a need to talk to us.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
Because me wearing this hat, Kevin, indicates that I'm a free man. See, because most black Americans would have a hat on with a D on it, with a blue D on it, representing Democrat. Do you understand? And so they don't need to talk to me because there are 1,000 people who look like me who have a D on their hat and haven't asked for a thing from the Democratic Party.
No. Hey, wait a minute. That's you understand what I'm saying?
No, I understand. So to create the paradigm shift, know thyself.
Let me read some of the feed. Sid says, I like Reverend Barber. Okay, gotcha. Kathy Fellows says, smart point. I think Miss Walker says, what has voting done for us, any black people? The old Dixiecrats, Democrats, party sticks with the status quo minus some She wrote a lot. Sister, I'm going to take it. Well, Abraham was only interested in black arms to assist him and his party to force the South to succeed to allow the North to economically rise. Okay, that's a fact. Guatano said Lily White. I don't know what that means, Guatano. Sid says, in fact, both parties do this. Remember when Steele became leader of the GOP, they tried to pass rules he cannot, okay, that's true, have access to the funds. And Guatano said, but he did Trump's in Iowa. I guess he must be talking about
Bernie.
Buttigieg. No, Buttigieg. I think it was Buttigieg. And I just want to read some of the feed. So keep bringing in the feed. I'm having a good time with you this morning, Eric. So Listen, what do you think is going to happen in Iowa by 5 o'clock again today? Because 5 o'clock yesterday, they're supposed to deal with it. It's on 5 o'clock today.
Right. So, look, at the end of the day, Bernie Sanders is going to wind up. See, you got to look at the districts that are reporting. Kevin, and you and I, because we're insiders, we know how politics go, right? You could have your opponent ahead in terms of the vote totals that have reported. But if those are districts that you're not strong in anyway, you expected to lose them. You know what I mean? So the inside baseball is you're waiting for the districts that you're strong in to report. Right, and you're looking at a plurality of the vote. So if you know that you're 2-1 in a district that you're stronger than your opponent by 2-1 in a district that hasn't reported, and you see that you're losing by less than 2-1 right now, you know already. You're just waiting for that district because you've already knocked on the door. So when you talk about a strong ground game, when Bernie Sanders says that they knocked on hundreds and hundreds of thousands of doors up there, they've done that internal polling. They've done and again, Kevin, we've done it where we've knocked on doors and we've gotten committed voters. So you have a committed voter list and you know all those people who've committed to vote for you out of those districts. And when you look down and you see those districts haven't reported yet, you know what the outcome is going to be. And I'm saying to you that the Democratic Party knows what the outcome is already. They are refusing to put it up there because they want to drag it on and dilute the victory in order to have other headlines. Now, what you're going to have?
I don't disagree with that.
Now,
I agree with that.
When is the vote today or tomorrow for Donald Trump in the Senate? I think
it's tomorrow. I don't think it's today.
Okay. So now this is my political calculation. I believe it's tomorrow, right? So they'll drag this out again today in Iowa. Then tomorrow, guess what the headlines will be? The headlines will all be about Donald Trump being acquitted in the Senate, right? So when they report the numbers in Iowa, that still won't make the headline. It'll be at the bottom fold in the New York Times because the top fold will be Donald Trump is exonerated in the Senate. So now Bernie Sanders' victory will be buried. Then you get to Friday, and what do you have Friday? You have the debate. Let's be clear. See, this is how they're manipulating the news.
Hey, wait a minute, though. Wait a minute, though. Let's say who they is.
Yeah.
It's the Democratic Party.
There we go. Come on.
Oh, no. I'm doing a Diane on you now. Diane said, who are they?
Yes.
It's the Democratic Party going into their alt-right Democratic Party.
The corporation by supremacy, Kevin. Even when they lose, they win.
No. They have a winning track record. They don't lose. Oh my
gosh! So they're gonna lose in Iowa, but they're gonna win because you have not seen the headline. Yeah. You haven't seen. Bernie Sanders hasn't seen the bump. I'm gonna tell you
who the greatest politician of the 21st century is. Earlier 21st century is in Washington right now. You ready? You sitting down? You taking a deep breath? It's Mitch McConnell. He's better than all of them. Dude, that guy is a technician.
Yes. But you know
the vote is today. By the way, we just got alerted by one of our informed class members. The vote is today, Eric.
It's today?
It's today. Yes, thank you very much, informed class member.
Right.
But let me ask you a question. Wait.
Go ahead. But you know what time they're going to do the vote? What time are they doing the vote?
Well, about 5 o'clock.
There we go. So still, tomorrow. So 5 o'clock is tomorrow. Understand the news cycle.
Hey, look, Eric. 5 o'clock. I mean, I know the news cycle. Well, first of all, we know the news cycle. Right. So we know how they do it.
So 5 o'clock is the news cycle, right? So 5 o'clock will take tonight's news and it'll carry into tomorrow's headlines. Come on.
But don't you believe that McConnell is the best politician?
Well, but you know why?
He outmaneuvered Obama. He's outmaneuvering the Senate. He's outmaneuvering the Congress. The whole party's in shambles. Listen, the Democrats don't have grown-ups. They don't have any grown-ups in the Capitol right now. They're not grown-ups. There's nobody leading anything. It's all responsive. It's all emotional. There's no real plan.
But
nothing.
Kevin, listen. You know why Mitch McConnell is able to do what he does? Mitch McConnell is able to do what he does the same way AOC can do what she does, the same way Ilhan and Rashida doing what they do, because their constituents understand why they put them there. You see, and Mitch McConnell operates with absolute laser focus because his constituents put him there to do that, right?
But not only that, though, okay, let's check that box. But he's also an operator because he's been single focused on using the Federalists to be able to put the most conservative people in the courts, and the Democrats they can't even outmaneuver him at any level.
No doubt.
And so when people tell me about Nancy Pelosi, I'm like, yeah, she's okay. Yeah, well, guess what? She's not effective because he's winning.
But listen, when you hold a political office, and you're not concerned about the decisions you make because you know that your constituents are going to be behind you 100%, then you go ahead and you do it. You see, so Mitch McConnell is acting with absolute boldness and courage because at the end of the day, when he goes home to his constituents, he says, listen, I did what you told me to do. Now vote me back in. And they voted him back in. So that's what the deal is. So, but we, again, when we talk about no black faces without black voices, that's why you get a Kamala Harris who says, "Oh, nothing specific for black people," or you get a Cory Booker who says,
"I'm so glad she's gone. I don't want to hear that fake laugh and that hair going.
That laugh was
so glad she's gone. I just can't wait." And Gorbachev, I know I'm going to get beat up by saying this. Never mind, I'm not going to say it because I'm going to get beat up. No, I'm not.
Kevin.
Gail is listening today. I know I can hear.
Hey, Councilwoman.
I ain't gonna say. Listen, because if I say something about a woman, I'm going to get lynched.
Well, text it to me and I'll say it.
Oh no. Oh no, I'm not going to do it because I'll be living down in the basement. But listen, Biden is over, so we cool with that. Elizabeth Warren, I think she's got some staying power until Super Tuesday, coming out of Nevada and all those other places. Gorbachev should leave the race immediately.
Right.
He has no chance in hell. Right? So in Bloomberg, he's going to basically give everybody a $5 million check that's sitting up there, the rest of them, and he'll probably be the last three standing. Because Bloomberg is not going to not make it to that stage. I want you to understand this. He is planning on being nominated president. This is not just spending his money. He's going to spend his money to be nominated. And that's when I'm going to see the whole thing blow up. Eric, like this, blow up. That's what's going to happen. Bloomberg is going to get nominated. There's going to be complete chaos in the convention, anarchy, and the number one people that are going to destroy that place, I'm sorry to say, is Bernie Sanders if he doesn't get this nomination again. It will be pure robbery if he did.
We know it's going to
be robbery.
Right. Well, so here's... So it's going to be very interesting, right? Because we got to look at... And yes, you do... Look, for me, I look at all of these people as chess pieces on the board. And I'm asking myself, who's controlling those pieces? So who's controlling Gorbachev? Who's controlling Elizabeth Warren? Who's controlling, Biden? Who's controlling Buttigieg? I'm asking myself, who's controlling all of them and to what end, right? So I say on the Democrat side, all three of those people that I just mentioned, Biden, Buttigieg, and, four, Biden, Buttigieg, Elizabeth Warren, and Amy are all being controlled by the oligarchs. They're all being moved against Bernie Sanders at this point, right? I think
when you say that, should we suggest that? Shouldn't we be more specific that part of the Democratic Party is moving against, not just individually, but the party itself is moving against Bernie Sanders?
Well, you know what?
Because I want to keep it in Democratic space.
Right, but I also want to correct myself. Because I did it yesterday, right? So it's not about Bernie Sanders. Just like yesterday we were talking about Assemblyman Holly. It's not about Bernie Sanders. They're moving against you. They're actively moving against you. That's what's happening. So move Bernie Sanders out of the picture. Let's talk about the 5 million individual donations. Let's talk about the millions of people. Let's talk about the tens of thousands of people that show up at these rallies. These people are actively moving against you. That's what's
Very good point. Let me tell you what they're saying about Biden this morning. The results have been tallied so far are worse than Biden, who had told reporters that Friday before the caucuses that there's a big difference between second and fourth, had hoped, and popular vote numbers indicating Biden fell behind 15% viability threshold to win delegates, and some precincts were a clear indictment of his campaign's weak organizing effort in the state. Now, that's gonna be a trend. South Carolina, he'll get a little bump. Now, that's the person that should be dropping out of the election,
right?
Of the election on Super Tuesday. He should be gone. He'll be running fourth all the way through. He'll be running fourth and fifth all the way through. He'll get that bump in South Carolina, but those commercials that Bloomberg's running with Barack Obama is going to have an adverse effect on Biden in South Carolina, because Biden should have been running those commercials.
Well, so here's the deal. Here's the question. So there are a couple things. I think that
I got the shovel, Eric. I got the shovel for Biden. I got it. You want me to get? I got it.
Listen.
I got the shovel.
Listen. The rebuke of Biden in Iowa had nothing to do with his campaign organizing. It had to do with the voters rebuking the fact that he represents a part of the party that they don't want to be a part of. See, and so I think that by them couching and saying, well, it was his organizing, it was his strategy, it was his ground game, it was all these things, then what they're not owning up to, Kevin, is that he had no message. See, people are pushing back and saying, no, when you went into the room and you told all of those people that nothing was going to fundamentally change, voters were done with him.
Look, you know what I would never vote for him?
When it came out that he colluded and he sat down with segregationists, Kevin, people were done with him. You see, when people understood that he was the grandfather of the crime bill, people were done with him. So none of that has anything to do with the ground game. And now what I'm going to tell you about Bloomberg.
What is Biden's name now? We got to give Biden the right name. Jim Crow Joe.
Jim Crow Joe.
We got to start calling him Jim Crow Joe. Like we said about Cory Booker, 2%.
2%.
So when we say Jim Crow Joe, right? We got to say Jim Crow Joe. Okay, so when you talk about Biden, just say Jim Crow Joe.
Yeah. And so now, Mike, and we got to come up with a name for Mike. So you guys in the thread, figure out a name for Mike. Because what's going to happen, Kevin, is this. That clip that I played, and understand this, guys. Look, you're going to have more than 1.4 million black people stay home if Mike Bloomberg is nominated. They're not going to come out and vote. I'm telling you. Look, when Bloomberg, let's assume he was nominated and he shows up on a stage, and then you're having conversations about the fact that he was a Republican before he was an independent, then he was a Republican again, then he became a Democrat, right? And then he touted Giuliani, right? Then he supported McCain. Then he did all of these things. That for 12 years he terrorized black people in New York under stop and frisk. When all of that starts to really hit the airwaves, because right now he's inundated people with this nonsense that says Michael get it done.
Well, let me just say this to you. You said how many people are not going to come out to vote? Black people?
Well, in 2016, 1.4 million black people stayed home because they didn't buy Hillary Clinton's message.
I'm going to tell you, it's going to be even worse.
Yes.
It's going to be even worse. Again, it gets back to my earlier statement. And, I'm not talking about me personally. That those candidates, the Democratic candidates, they still haven't drilled down on their messaging because they've been fighting with Trump. They're running a campaign against Trump. They're saying he's the evilest person on earth, which we all agree. But they have not given a pure, unified message about how they are going to fix America.
Right.
How they're going to fix these disparities it's beyond just being an ocean between us now. There's a lifetime between us. How they are going to correct all of the bad things that are happening to our children in these communities. They haven't said one thing. I haven't heard, outside of the normal prescriptions, Medicaid for all. We're going to give money for schools. We got a plan for black people. I know what their plan is for us to go away. Go away. But no one is really coherently sat down and said, listen, here's where we are, this is where we've come from, and this is what we have to do, and it's going to be rough, but guess what? We're going to start here where all the pain is right now. See, when you speak in prescriptions with me, I'll stop listening anyway, because you're not being very specific about what you're going to do to reset. And that's why Trump, in his evil, diabolical way, is telling those people that support him, I'm only speaking to you. I'm not speaking to the rest of America. I don't care about them. I care about you. They're trying to take your guns. They're trying to take your freedom of speech. They're trying to, government is reaching. And that's all he's got to do, because in those 7 states where you actually win this election, he'll probably win it by a very narrow margin and win the Electoral College. Right. Democrats are just lying to everybody, because they're all saying the same thing. Now, I believe if they drill down who's going to be that candidate, way before the convention, they might can find a message, but I doubt it.
Right, but this is why, again, Kevin, I say, for a person like Elizabeth Warren, I look and say Elizabeth Warren knows exactly what you're saying. She's saying the exact same thing. Well, she at least started saying the exact same thing, that the Democratic Party is focusing on Donald Trump, but Donald Trump's not your problem. So now, if Elizabeth Warren believed what she just said, what I just said she said, right? Which is what she said, that he's not the problem, that there's this bigger system that created Donald Trump, and we need to deal with this system. Okay, fine. Then deal with the system. But what I'm saying to you is she's cutting a side deal. She's actively cutting a side deal, knowing that staying on the chessboard, she's a distraction, and she's pulling votes from what the objective should be, which is blowing up. I think when she leaves out, those votes her voters will vote for Bernie Sanders. But understand, right? But the idea right now. But why aren't you not saying that Gorbachev has to leave out? Why aren't you saying that? Why are we going back to Elizabeth Warren? Right. Why does she have to be your safeguard? Why does she have to leave? Right. Well, because what I'm saying to you is this: if she's on our team, if she's on the team, if she's on the progressive team, right? Then what you do is you make sacrifices, you take risks, right? If you're on the centrist team, which is the team that says openly they're against us, they're against everything that they showed that they were against us in 2016, right? They did everything they could in 2016 to be against the American people, or those folks who label themselves as Democrats. Well, I got some breaking news, Eric. What's the breaking news? I understand that there's a corona virus, a person has been identified with coronavirus in the Central Ward. Now, I don't know where that is. Maybe that's, I'm not going to say, I'm going to say Kevin. Something terrible. I'm going to say something terrible. No, I'm not, I'm going to get in trouble, so I'm not going to say it. Kevin, but I got to get a mask. Well, I don't come outside. I don't see anything. Wait a minute, though. Listen. First of all, I'm going to recommend a Netflix special for everybody to see called Pandemic. I think everybody at home should see Pandemic. But I have to really tell you guys something. I think that the coronavirus is a hoax. And now let me tell you what I mean by that. Let me explain this. I understand how the food chain that we're eating, the wild game and the wild animals that they're eating in other countries are really spreading this disease or spreading this virus all around the country. And I can see that. And I'm happy that we have the communication network we do to kind of deal with the situation as a crisis, right? But it's not a pandemic. I think it's all made up by Big Pharma and to cause chaos in the world, and you're going to find that out. Because if you want to go back and see what a pandemic is or something, go back to 1819, the first pandemic, then go for and look at Ebola virus. This particular virus is something that can be done. Now, the reason what they did in China, I don't get it, and I can understand people traveling back to China and coming in from China. Now, it might be diagnosed. I don't know what the hell they were eating when they were there. I'm telling you, I think that this is a big hoax. I think it is to cause hysteria. I think they have the ability to deal with this in an immediate way. I think China's doing a great job. But trust and believe me, I don't think that this one breakout, this one virus, coronavirus, is the crisis that they're talking about. I think it's absolutely maximum sophisticated confusion. And you got people now normally, guys, I wear masks anyway. Normally I wear gloves anyway because I'm hypochondriac. But this is all bull crap. And I believe it. Now, they got to prove me differently. So now, if you're coming from China,
okay, I think you need to be quarantined if they find out that you might have the coronavirus. But if you look at how many people are dying, even in China has how many people? A zillion people.
Right.
A zillion people. So if you got 200 and 300 people dying in China, that's like not even 1%. So it's all, I think that there is hysteria. I think Big Pharma, I think the deep state, I think they know how to drive chaos, and that's exactly what they're doing, because we're easy. I told you, we're easy.
Yeah.
Now, black folk, just stop eating bats and deer, and stop eating that stuff, because that's how disease travels. I don't think people understand it, so I'm making a recommendation. Please, watch the documentary Pandemic. It's 5-7 parts to it, but it'll teach you a lot about what a pandemic is, how a pandemic has been identified. When we do have a pandemic, you and I wouldn't be talking, Eric, because basically we would be wiped off the face of the earth. I believe that these companies, these multinational companies, are engaged in warfare against us, and they're going to create such a chaos in the world because it's only about their bottom line. It's about greed. So they'll lose 2 million, 3 million people, you know, and it won't be anything for them because it's about their money.
Right.
So I'm just telling you, I think it's a hoax. And just Lisa said it's not the animals, that's bullshit. Okay, so now, she just told me it's bullshit. I know what she was saying. You gotta go, if you look at Pandemic, please look at it and then call me back. And then just Shady, please look at Pandemic and then call me back.
Well,
I bet you have a difference of opinion then.
So listen, whoever the person
all of this, see what she said. We have SARS, H1N1, AIDS, swine flu. Take AIDS out of it. All of those other things you said came from food. Now go look at Pandemic and then call me back.
Listen, whoever the
that's my girl. She told me bullshit. Go ahead, Eric. I'm sorry.
Whoever the person was in the West Ward or is in the West Ward, you know, I hope that that things work out for them.
They might just came to the hospital. UMD&J is a damn trauma center. They just might have got here and went to the hospital. We don't know if they came from the Central Ward or not.
Or Central Ward.
It's just like the AIDS epidemic. They said Newark had the highest rate of AIDS. No, that was not true. People was coming from all over the region because they didn't want to go to their doctor. They didn't go to their hospital.
Right, but whoever they are.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying. I'm not being, you know.
So listen.
Mean, I mean, come
on. There are we? I just want to know before we move on, before we turn the page today, class. Are we clear that that we need to get focused? That right now, and I'm telling you, Kevin, I'm looking at the feeds and I'm looking at all of the folks who are running over to Mike Bloomberg, literally, and it's shameful to watch folks who with no real rhyme or reason understand other than the fact that they're caught up just like in a Super Bowl, right? And they decide to put on a Kansas City Chief hat, even though they don't get anything out of it, right? I guess they get some emotional gratification out of being a Kansas City Chief fan, right? Or if they were, 49er fan, well, prior to the end of the Super Bowl, they were happy. They were happy to be there. But now, they're putting on this Mike Bloomberg logo on their social media posts, and they're now identifying with that. I'm telling you, it is a sickness. And so now they're identifying with it, but I'm telling you, not one of them will be able to tell you how Mike Bloomberg is going to advance the cause of seizing economic and political power. And
look,
so
James Carville said it better. The Democrats are done. Let's move on. Bloomberg, I'm done with Bloomberg.
And there lies
that controls the Democratic Party.
There lies the problem, guys. So I want you to just push back today when you see it now, right? Because the Democratic Party, through all of their stuff now, they're going to start conditioning you to understand that Biden's gone or leaving, that Donald Trump is our greatest existential threat, and that Mike Bloomberg is our savior. That is the narrative now that they're pushing out, right? Yep, we tried it with Biden, didn't work. Trump is the greatest existential threat, and Mike Bloomberg is your savior. And
Let me ask you a question, Eric. Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question, and we can go on to Nicki Minaj.
Go ahead.
Let me ask you a question. Do you believe, and this is for the informed class members too, and this is a very honest question, I'm not being my cynical Kevin. Do you believe your vote counts?
Who are you talking to?
I'm talking to you.
You asking me the question?
Yeah. Do you think your vote counts? Based on, let me be more specific. Based on the construct of how we elect presidents in America, do you believe on the president level? I'm on the president level. I'm saying not at the local level because I want to get there. Do you believe your vote counts?
Under the current construct, no. Right.
Okay.
Right. Under the current construct, it doesn't. Right. But the whole idea through this circular conversation is to explain how to reconstruct it, right? How to tear it down and how to reconstruct it so that it does count.
Okay. Well, let's ask that question.
Yeah.
All right. I believe locally my vote has more power than nationally.
Right.
Because I'm not a part of the electoral college. That's why I asked the question. Right. But let me just go back to something for a second. We normally don't spend this kind of time talking about politics, because I guess, we just move fast and whatever. But there is an existential threat that's getting ready to occur in this electoral process that we all need to be prepare for, I guess regionally, just say regionally. Because if Donald Trump wins this election, which I think he's on the track to win, it's going to have a seismic impact on where we live at. I mean, on a serious note. So forget all about the mechanics, political mechanics.
What do you mean?
What I'm saying to you, his mission and only mission, if he wins this election, is to annihilate at a whole nother level. And for the Democrats to take this so lightly and be so irresponsible and play their weak politics that they've been known to do forever, it's putting us in grave danger. So when we talk about, wait a minute, man, let me finish. When we talk about the local elections and how important they are, right? It's now more important than ever to make real critical decisions about who you vote for locally, because you're not going to have a defense from this guy. He can do executive orders all day long over the Congress. Every day that will cause, major complications for your personal life, and he's doing that already. So when I ask you that question, I'm saying, okay, we know that where we sit, when we vote, our vote really doesn't clearly matter that much, but at the local level it does, and I think that's what we need to be paying our attention to. And that's why I'm having this discussion, and I'm trying to bring it somewhere that while we're having this discussion, you need to think locally about the decisions you've been making and the impact it's been having on you thus far. That's my point.
Right. So what I want to say before we move on is this, and the reason I shook my head is I don't care what the Democrats do, and we have to stop caring what the Democrats do. We have to take our lives into our own hands. We know that they're reckless. That's fine. We now need to know who we are, and then we need to operate from that perspective. So again,
I got that point. I got your point. But you said that already. I asked a very specific question. We are zoned in on political power and economic power, and we are zoned in on what we've talked about separating the way that we've been talking about separating. But I asked a question because we always talk about local politics, right? And I'm saying, I asked you a specific question. You said no, based on the present construct. And then I said, and this is why, at the local level, we need to pay attention. Now, if you want to use our values and principles of political power, economic power, that's fine. But I asked a very specific question. I don't want to give back circle on that. I'm just asking, that's why locally we need to be taking that position that you talked about and making better decisions so we vote for. That's a pretty rational, logical position to take.
Yeah.
That's all I was saying.
So
that's all I'm saying. That's all I was saying.
Yeah. So
don't beat me up, goddammit, Eric. Don't beat me up. I just said. So anyway, Nicki Minaj.
Well, but I want to finish this piece, right? Because
finish that piece.
Because we do have elections that are coming up locally,
they are.
Right? So we have elections in Orange, we have elections in East Orange, we have elections in Irvington, we have elections coming up in Newark. And I understand they're not talking to you about these elections right now because they're trying to lull you to sleep. But they're going to be Board of Education elections taking place in the towns that I just mentioned. And why isn't anybody talking to you about it? Because they don't want
can I answer you? Because they don't care about their children.
No, well,
they don't care.
Okay.
Eric, just be be honest, they don't care about their kids. Well, now let me tell you why I'm saying it. If you get up every morning, and I've said this, and I'm going to say it again, and you take your kids into those factories of death, and you don't participate in looking at who's on your board and actively voting and lending your voice, because that's all you have, your political and economic power, and if you don't value your children, guess what? That is your fault. That is not my fault. That's your fault. So you said a school board election. That was your number one on your list. That's in April, right?
Right.
Okay. Have you heard anybody talk about the safety of their kids and public education and talking about creating effective human capital? Heck no. So they don't care about their kids. Okay, what's the next one?
Right, but I'm talking outside of the parents, and I think that the parents should be the primary caregivers and concerned folks when it comes to the social engineering of their children and how the school system runs. But I'm also talking about the elected officials, and I'm saying, why aren't they talking about it? Why aren't they letting you know that there's a Board of Education election that's going to be coming up? I want you to think hard about that. Why aren't they saying to you right now, hey guys, not only do you have exactly what we're saying on this show, you've got this national stuff going, you got national politics, you got a primary coming up for presidential candidates, you got primary coming up for congressional candidates and U.S. senatorial candidates, but you know what? Locally, you also have elections coming up for your Board of Education. Why aren't they having that conversation?
No, I just answered the question. What do you? How many times I want to answer the question? How many times I want to tell you in this one show? They don't have a voice because they don't care. They don't care because they don't believe their voice represents anything. They continue to wait. Listen, you can't. Listen, I've had this conversation with you. Now let me finish this point.
But you got to stop interrupting.
If you are going to vote for anyone, if you are voting for anyone, these are the two things you need to ask specifically. And we filled in the other reasons why we have to be careful how they answer. But economic power and political power. We say at the local level, this is what we need to do. Now, if you just do the last 10 years of you having a conversation, just you personally, about the school board elections. Every time you talk about it, they go right back out there. They don't go out there. They don't do anything. And they send those kids into their burning buildings. That's why other communities are doing so exceptionally well, because we're not actively engaged in trying to create any environment where we do well. So let's be honest about that. I'm having an honest conversation with you. So now at the local level, you said about the local elected officials. The local elected officials would only be there if we had an educated constituent that understood the value of why they should vote for somebody different because of the outcomes that they've had in the last 12, 15, 13, 20 goddamn years. Right. So it's their fault. So wait a minute, let's just clear that up. When you talk about elected officials to me now, I bust out laughing. They get what they deserve. I think they should get as many raises. I think they should raise their taxes as much. I think their streets should be as dirty as hell. I think their schools should be dirty as hell, because guess what? It all starts with me. Now that's enough now, damn it.
So listen. We're gonna finish our commercial breaks, and when we come back, we're gonna have the conversation. We're gonna have the conversation about Nicki Minaj. We'll be right back.
I gotta love her. Yeah.
We'll be right back.
It's time to turn up the heat in your house or apartment. So here are some fire safety tips from Diane L. Murray Insurance Agency to keep you warm and safe this winter. Don't overload your electrical outlets. Keep flammable items away from fireplaces and space heaters. And put a fresh battery in your smoke detector. Turn to Diane L. Murray Insurance Agency for your home and renter's insurance, or bundle it with your auto insurance and save. Call 908-686-4609 or visit dlminsurance.com today.
BBSI. BBSILLC.com.
On paper, you could be missing out on important career opportunities. The experts at Resume Tailor can help you craft your professional resume and cover letter. Call today at 267-666-0943 and let Resume Tailor help you put your best foot forward.
So, please hit the share button, guys. Visit the YouTube channel and hit the bell, share it, let everybody know that we're on. And I'm still getting more messages about the hat. I'm glad you guys like it. If you want to know more about it, inbox me, or you can call the number at the bottom of the screen after the show. Nicki Minaj, Kevin.
Well, let me just say something.
I like it. I like the video.
You like the video?
Kevin, you're about to fall off your seat. I like the video. I understand the message. I'm going to say that. I like the video.
I didn't understand the message.
I understand the message.
I don't like a Nicki Minaj, but let me just say something to you.
Go ahead.
All right, and I want to say this because I actually read the feeds, and I want to make a comment about something because I believe that everybody in this feed is much smarter than we are. Okay, so now, I really don't have a choice but to have this circular conversation. So, if you want to talk about arts and entertainment, it gets back to disparities of black folk. When you want to talk about politics, it gets back to the disparity of black folks being impacted. If you want to talk about urban economics, it all gets back to the same thing. So I'll give you an example. So when you pick up the Financial Times, it's talking about white wealth, risk positioning in the market, and it's talking about their gains and our losses. If you pick up the New York Times, they will filter some black experiences, some black stories, but they're all irrigating all of their information to a certain class of people, right? And that the average black people don't get that information. If you pick up the Guardian is trying to really create a narrow focus on trying to give some complexity to what's happening politically, what's happening socially, but it all gets back to one thing when you read the Guardian: black people are being left behind, right? So I don't know how to have a global constructed conversation without dealing with these issues in real time. And they are something that we should not. If things would have gotten better 50 years ago, if things would have gotten 100 years ago, I wouldn't be having this conversation because I would be celebrating in my whiteness and things would be great. So it is a complicated thing that when we get on this show, we elongate these conversations because the average person, when they look at MSNBC, they're listening from what? The oligarch's position, the industry's position, the talking heads, the pundits' position. It's very complicated and complex to have these conversations and not believe that you heard it yesterday. You will hear it today, you will hear it tomorrow, and you will hear it the next day because you just laid out something about schools. Our schools are failing. The majority of us are over 50. Why are we still having that conversation? When you look at unemployment, underemployment, we're still suffering at staggering levels now, way beyond what the 1960s were. So why do we still talk about that? We have no choice. So if you look at Yvette, if you look at Antonio Moore, if you look at The Great Economist, if you look at all of these shows that I look at, I mean, I'm talking about all of these shows. They talking about white fragility. They talk about all of that stuff. Right. So we talked about the miseducation. We're going to be someplace again talking about the next book. We're trying to mix it up and educate at the same time, and it is a conversation that's very complex.
Look,
and we have to keep doing it.
Kevin, listen.
So if I talk about Treasury, I know Treasury is a police officer. When I talk about police, what's the first thing I talk about? The disparities in police force, right? When I talk about the police, I talk about, the police that are the police police officers that brutalize black men and black women and black children, right? The new form of Ku Klux Klan, right? Not all of them. I'm talking about the ones that perform that way. So it's kind of complex. I don't know where do you go? So I can't talk about technology and artificial intelligence anymore because we don't matter.
Look, so simplify.
I'm just saying we don't matter. I mean, when you talk about artificial intelligence, we don't matter.
So to simplify this, we have an underlying condition that always has to be addressed. We can't ignore the underlying condition that foundational black Americans have. So when you say that you want to ignore it, it is the thing. It is the thing that is defining who we are. And so every conversation we have has to begin with that. Has to start with that. That you have this So I'll give you an example. If you have diabetes, right? every conversation that you have about your diet, what you're going to eat, what restaurants you're going to, whether you're going to exercise or not exercise, you work, you not work. When you go to the doctor first wants to know, before I can treat you, before we can talk about anything else, let's talk about your diabetes. And now we can move on. We can have conversations from there. But you have to discuss the underlying disease. And there's an underlying disease here.
You're right, Eric. And I think what happens for the informed class, they're so smart, that's true, that they get it. But we're not like, I hate to say this, we are talking to you. You're part of our family. You're part of our conversation around coffee and tea, whatever me and Eric can drink for the day because we're old. You might want us to, like, project it somewhere else. But the average person, I'm finding out, they don't have any inkling of what, what's going on in the world outside of what they see on their TV.
Right.
And what you've seen on that TV is a cold-blooded lie. They don't have any inkling what the elected officials are saying to them because it's in a chamber. So when they see somebody get up and they start preaching to them, I'm with you, I'm going to stay with to the end. See, we dissect that and say the man's a liar.
Right.
He just poisoned 5,000, 10,000 people in the city.
Right.
The guy's a liar. It's the poorest city in America. The guy, so when people hear us talking, we can dissect it a little better, take a little time with it. It gets drawn out. I understand that, but you got to be patient because there's a lot of people out there that don't know that they're.
But here's the other piece of this, right? And yeah, you do have to be patient or not. But the fact of the matter is this, that it has taken decades, centuries, for us to be in the position that we are. The conditioning, the social engineering. And so to suggest that we can have a half an hour discussion about something and then it resolve itself, that's not going to happen. I'm clear about that. Kevin is clear about that. Diane is clear about it, which is why we've all committed ourselves to showing up here every day for 2 hours to have the conversation. Because I'll tell you this, if it was going to be resolved, it'd be resolved, right? But when we look at the key performance indicators, we look at the unemployment rate, we look at the racial wealth gap, we look at the failing schools. None of those things are changing. None of those metrics are improving. And so our condition, and so to say, to make the argument, like I saw, for instance, somebody put in the feed, oh, it was a great thing what Donald Trump did yesterday by having the black woman and her daughter there and talking about the scholarship that she got for a choice school. And I'm saying to myself, you know what? It's like a patient having stage 4 cancer, right? And then you have a conversation with them about the fact that somebody took a mole off of their finger, right? I'm saying, wait a minute. I'm not discounting the ugliness of the mole, but that's not the threat to the body. The threat to the body is the stage 4 cancer that you haven't addressed. So, yes, Donald Trump did that thing yesterday, right? But let's understand what it was. And it did not address the existential threat to the black community. And so and
you're right. You're right, because when we went through the book Miseducation of the Negro, it was right there in your face.
Yes.
It clearly outlined what the dilemma was. So, I mean, I got to tell you something, and I think Cesare and I will laugh. I was walking down the street the other day. Somebody said, pulled over in the car and said, yeah, Cap, we're watching out for those Negro whisperers. I almost fell on the street. I was like, what? I got uncomfortable. I said, what? It went over my head, but people are see, now you can identify who these people are. Maybe 6 months to a year ago, you might have been calling them something else, but I think we clearly have codified language that make you more suspicious when you see these kinds of people. That's why I like to read the feeds.
And look, and I'm calling,
idea what's going on.
And I'm calling everybody out, and I'm gonna call you out on it. If I see you posting up a Mike Bloomberg thing, propping him up, supporting him, right? If I see you taking his logo and putting it on your Facebook or Twitter or Instagram page, I'm gonna call you what you are. You're a danger to our community. It's horrible. So anyway, let's move on to Nicki Minaj.
Yeah, man.
Right?
She scares me.
Well, but do you understand what she said? So what's the controversy is over a song where she invoked the name of Rosa Parks, right? And so people were upset that she invoked the name of Rosa Parks, and I read the read the article and I listened to the video, and what she was saying, what I got, because what the headline says, Nicki Minaj rap on Rosa Parks, disrespectful or double entendre. And I believe that it was a double entendre. And it says some interpreted a quote yikes lyrics, I guess that's the name of the song or name of the album, as making light of Parks' activism, while others said it is Minaj calling for people to fight for causes that matter to them. And that's what I got out of it. That she was
I think that she is a horror. She is a woman that made a business out of drugging men, raping
I'm
men.
not disputing any of that.
She should not be. Leave Rosa Parks out of your mouth.
Well, but so I'm gonna read what the lyrics say. It says, "All you B-word Rosa Parks, get your let me read. Get your asses up." It said it drew social media attention, right? But what she was saying was these fake Rosa Parks people, right? People who wanna pretend that they're Rosa Parks, right? That they're fighting for something, that they're sacrificing for something. She's saying, no, I'm not gonna allow you to be in that fake world, and I'm not gonna allow that to happen. I'm gonna call you out for it. And if you wanna be like her, then get up and do something. That's what I took out of it.
Well, I want her to do me a favor. I want her to take all off that makeup and all that fake hair and all that stuff she got going on and go to the nearest precinct and tell them that I should be locked up because I raped men, stole their money, and guess what? I don't deserve to have a discussion about anything. She is a cold-blooded nut. And guess what? She might sound reasonable there, but this is what we call in this show maximum sophisticated confusion. She has no right to take anybody's temperature. What she needs to do for me is take up all that fake stuff off and go to the nearest jail and turn herself in.
So I'm gonna read the other.
That's Nicki Minaj. I got it wrong. I can't even tell. That's Nicki Minaj. Okay, I'm talking about Cardi B. Okay, so
no,
Nicki Minaj,
this is Nicki Minaj.
See,
that's what I'm saying to you. See, you going off on this woman, calling her. Wait a minute. See, but here's the deal. But you calling her a rapist.
Thank you, Jody. I can't.
Right, you calling this woman a rapist, Kevin?
Nicki Minaj, she can't even speak a full.
Oh, now see, wait a minute. You're painting all these women with the same brush. Let me read.
They all look alike to me.
Let me read. Wow.
Sorry, Judge Shady.
Let me read it. Get on them, people. Let me read the.
I take my beat for that one, but they all look alike to me. They're all a hot mess.
They all got fake asses, honey.
They're all a hot mess. I can't tell. See, I can't even tell one from the other. But I apologize, Nicki Minaj.
Wait! I told you about that. I told you about that song, right? These Yankee girls give me big scare. Is Blonde the Root?
You actually know that? You actually know that song?
Yes.
That's scary.
Her eyelash falls, her faces. Paint her pads up with a girl she ain't.
Apologize, but Nicki, ain't no different. All them damn women guys.
Good morning. Let me finish with caller just 1 second. So here's what it says in the quote in the article.
I need to leave Cardi B alone. Right. I'm never leaving that woman.
Here's what it says in the article. It says the bar was a double entendre. Basically, she's talking about how everyone wants to act like they're in a movement or for the culture, but they're not doing anything about it. The state, right? So that's what she's saying. It was a double entendre. Call her, go.
Good morning, Eric and Kevin. This is Jody.
Man, Jody, thank you for getting on his butt. She called the girl a rapist, Jody.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well, love. How are you?
Oh, my God. Go ahead.
I'm doing well. So listen, I got to get like a whole bunch of stuff out. I don't know if Kevin told you, but one, do you know every time I stopped looking at the show, because every time I popped on your live feed to go to live, it would give me this little girl on social media, her video called Butt, where she's like this fucking this crazy ghetto. Oh, it was crazy. So I couldn't get it. And then I figured it out. And I'm so glad because, Brendan,
I'm having a heart attack.
You stopped calling Nicki Minaj a rapist.
I did. I just apologize. I apologize. I fall on the sword on this one, guys.
To the damn precinct. You said go to the precinct and turn yourself in. Poor baby.
No, that's the point.
No?
So there are two things, Jody. There are two things. And if you could turn your sound up a little bit more so the callers can hear you. So the listeners can hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Okay.
So here's the thing. No, they're keeping it quiet, right? Because what they're gonna do, we know how they do it, right? So now we're almost mid-February, right? So in March, the political elites will announce their candidates. And then you'll have these other people who will run around trying to get petitions and then try to throw stones at a tank that's rolling down the street. And that's what's happening now. So no, nobody's talking about it because they don't want to awaken the electorate in any way, shape, or form. They want to galvanize just their 5,000 votes. We know how they do it, right? They got a database of 5,000 people. They're quietly organizing those 5,000 voters to come out and vote the interests of these political elites against the interests of the kids in the community.
Oh, wow. I just wanted to clarify that because I missed that little piece, and I wanted to know because I haven't seen anything. That was one thing I wanted to ask you about. The other thing is just a comment on the poor black lady and a poor black child before the whole entire country being called a single mother as if that was a part of the problem, and then calling basically the entrance into a charter school a scholarship was kind of scary to me because it says we change the languaging sometimes for the definition of what that is to make it appear to be even greater than it is, right? So we say this is a scholarship. It's not based on money. It still takes, for example, that 19,000 people per capita that we have in North New Jersey, that's state funding. But more importantly, what was scary to me about that moment was that he said that children failing in government schools. Did he know he was talking about his schools?
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Did he know that he was talking about schools that the United States government, those are their public schools, right? So now the nucleus is what? Leave those. I can only use Newark as an example because I only know those numbers. So the charter schools in Newark have 11,000 children, and the Newark public schools now has about 30,000 children. So leave those 30,000 children smoking because now the president of the United States has called those schools failure and said our children shouldn't have to go to government-failed schools. I think that is scary. I think that, and not talking about Trump because, I've come of age, Eric, and I don't want to talk about Trump anymore either. I'm very embarrassed by politics in general, but the school issue just freaks me out that now the government and the president of the United States is calling charter schools scholarship-based schools when really taking federal funds from a school district and giving it to this private organization who, in large part, especially in Newark, not many of them are successful as we would like them to be. And those that are successful are just taking children out of one system but not thinking about the whole. They're just thinking about this small percentage. I just had to say that this morning, and I wanted to say hi to you guys.
Hey, Jody. Hey, you know what, Jody? You brought up a point. Now, this is code words, right? So he engaged in code politics about identifying a black woman as a single mother.
Yeah.
Right? With a child. So what it doesn't suggest that we don't have any fathers. Right? That's number one. Number two, what he's sending is another message. Him and his partner, Bessie DeVos, are going to start doing what? Taking public schools and giving it to the private sector if he wins. They've tried to do this before. And you know what they're called now? They were called something else, but you know what they're called now? They're called charter schools. But what Bessie DeVos is take it a step further. She's going to say, listen, we have the authority to take public schools and reconfigure them the way we want to because we finance you. We finance public education. So now that what he was doing was sending a message. He was trying to put a message And guess what? In April, we're going to be sending him a clear message too. We don't care about our children because no one's going to go out and stand up for our babies, stand up for our little girls and boys, and say we will not tolerate this maximum sophisticated confusion in these schools anymore, and all of you bums need to be kicked off the island.
That's absolutely right.
He's going to use that. He's going to say, "Get out of my face."
And now, wait a minute, Kevin. Can I go first? Can I make one? I want to underline this, Jody. And then not only are our parents and guardians not going to go to the polls, but he's watching and seeing that the slave catcher and the Negro whisperer is actively playing a role in making sure that the vote is suppressed and that we don't go to the polls. So when we now look and we want to judge Donald Trump, but we're not looking at Ted Green or Tony Voss or Ras Baraka or Dwayne Warren. We're not looking at those guys and saying, wait a minute, we're you as a defender for what's right and what's just in our school systems, but we watch them play into the same thing and we don't hold them accountable, but then we want to jump over them. We want to jump over our congressman. We want to jump over our U.S. senator. We want to jump over all those people and go straight to the White House and talk about what Donald Trump is doing without holding these local people accountable. That he can't do that. And that's why he has the contempt that he has for us.
You got to call Jody.
That's right. And that's it in a nutshell, right? We're not looking at those local officials, right? But they are.
That's right.
They know that we don't hold them accountable right where we're at.
That's right.
We lose so much credibility
that
moment, right? So, and I had this conversation with someone yesterday about just what you said earlier. Tell me what Trump has done that affects you personally. He hasn't done a damn thing that affects my life one way or the other personally, right? But whereas Baraka did, and that's not just, we say that because that's our alleged local leader, right? The best black leadership around this country, right, have sold out the people, treat us more like an animal. So I believe that the people in North are being treated like animals by their leader, right? And I don't think that Trump is their enemy. Right. But I think that leader is their enemy. But what people seem to forget is while we are behaving in that way, they are watching. They know we don't even care about our own, so they don't put us in the equation. We're not a part of their equation. Right. We're not a part of that because we can't even fix our homes. When you're talking about, and I've been on this food thing for a minute now because it's strange to me that, let's take North, for example, charter schools have been there, 13 years, right? So after a while, you have to say, okay, if they do have something, right? If they found, I like to call it the best joke in the world, if they found that moment that helps children progress in education, right? They still haven't decided that we're supposed to share that whatever, to have one school sitting on a corner, Ketchon Avenue and Team are great examples. So they sit across the street from one another. And in one of the buildings, there's this one curricula being circulated, and in another building, right across the street, totally different curricula being circulated, right? I know this sounds crazy to people, but it is very true. That is basically illegal to the Constitution, right? The Constitution says that education, and Abbott, this is what Abbott was all about, that everyone should be getting the same. The fact that Northers accept that on one corner it's one thing and on another corner it's another thing is kind of scary. I am not anti-charter, but I am anti doing for some that you don't do for the mass. So by now in North, there should have been some engineering to take the best practices out of whatever school and implement them in all schools. That is just the way it's supposed to work. Other than that, we do have to come to the conclusion that charters are an enterprise, right? Based on money and people getting wealthy. And so as long as those schools are failing, we can continue to shut them down, take over their buildings, take over their population, and still hundreds of thousands of children educated. Yeah. Who would do that to a community of people?
Slave catchers.
Yeah.
Negro whisperers.
Negro whisperers.
Those are the people who would do it. And again,
you know what? That's a brilliant assessment.
It's a brilliant analysis.
That was a brilliant. Jody, that was a brilliant assessment.
But that's why, Kevin, early on in the show where we were talking about the fact that Donald Trump's not speaking to us and we're waiting for somebody to speak to us, I'm saying they have no impetus to come and speak to us. They see how we treat ourselves. They see that we don't give a damn. They see that we'll continue to elect these people. We'll continue to elect a Donald Payne Jr. We'll continue to elect a Ras Baraka and a Ted Green and a Tony Voss. We'll continue to elect and support and cape for Cory Booker, irrespective of how horrible he treated our community. We'll continue to do that. So Donald Trump looks and says, well, why are you looking at me? Why are you calling me names? Why don't you deal with those people in your own community that you vote for every single day?
Absolutely.
You know what? I have to tell you, but you said something 6 months ago, and it kind of connected me with what Jody was saying. If all of those people that were fighting for charter schools cared about education so much, where are they now?
Where are they?
Based on what you're saying, Jody, we should have an ecosystem, an education ecosystem that's world class.
Absolutely. It's only in a black community or a minority community could you disseminate two separate education systems and have some people on one side of the aisle saying, we're educating children, right? And on the other side of the aisle, they're saying, we're broke, we have no money in the system, and our children are failing, and no one ever connects that dot.
Hey, Jody, let me ask you a question.
Whatever it is, because guess what? It doesn't cost money, right? It wouldn't cost the large charter institutions a dime to share best practices. It would be nothing, but what it would do to them, it would stop their economic development for their people, right? And let's be honest about it now. We're talking about, and not racist. This isn't racist. This is just what it is. We're Newark has made some white men come in and very wealthy off the backs of our children.
Right. Commodity to the wealth and power.
Pupil per capita they're getting for each body, even though they give back that 10%. That's money.
Let me ask you a question, Jody. Jody, I want to ask you a question, because you spend a tremendous amount of time in the education space. Let's go back to when I think 1,000 kids were asked to leave school and protest and march down Broad Street, right? Let's talk about the time where they had to sit in over Cammie Anderson, right? And the news media was out there and folks were bringing pizza to those kids who were sitting in at 2 Cedar Street. Let's have the conversation about when elected officials, in particular Ras Baraka, was going and interrupting Board of Education meetings when they were screaming vulgar things to Cammie Anderson. Let's look at where the school system was then. How much better is Newark's school system now?
It's not, right?
Okay, right. So my point to you is this. So my point is this.
You know what I used to say back then, Eric?
Yeah.
I used to say when he was bringing thousands of kids out of school buildings, he was mad because the charter people hadn't bought him the suitcase yet, right? They hadn't bought him the suitcase and gave him his share of the money. So he was adversarial to that movement, right? It is obvious that after the run out of Cammie Anderson, remember, and then we put Cammie Anderson's boss as the superintendent, right? Who initiated that whole situation, Chris Stern. Right. Then he became friends with the charter community. The suitcase had been delivered. He was now in on the state, so he became a little quiet about that movement. That, to me, is the craziest situation, and these advocates, they call themselves education advocates, who stand by silently and never demand equality, because that's what it would be, right? Our children deserve equal education. We deserve whatever is best. We want the best, right? It was about money. And listen, and I was an advocate, right? So I'm not coming from a perspective of being anti-charter or pro-public. I felt like if there was something better for my child, I was going to run in those school buildings at $19,000. I used to call them little banks. So our babies, what we realized, were little bank accounts, right? They were worth $19,000, and if I shift her from here to there, then her $19,000 follows her. That's kind of heavy to know that that's how our children were seen. So they weren't seen as being capable of intellectual prowess, right? No one cared really about that. It was about the bank. But they moved from place to place. And in large part, it hasn't gotten any better, right? Our children are still fell in large. And listen, some of them are failures, right? And I'm going to say this because I have no stake in the game, but I feel this, right? So when you're talking about KIP, let's talk about certain places. So KIP has about 13 schools now, one high school. Now, one high school is a failure, right? It's like the baths in a clean state, right? Or what we consider a failing school. A state-of-the-art building, built it from the ground up, and a failure. Children in North Collegiate Academy are doing just as bad, and in some cases, worse than North Public School children in high school buildings. Everyone knows that. The people that put their children, let's say, the oligarchs or the highfalutin, for lack of a better word, education advocates, allow their children to go through KIP all the way, and when they get to high school, they snatch them out. Their children aren't at NCA. They send them to Science Park. They send them to North Star because they know that's a failure. They don't try to fix that failure, right? They're not interested in making North Collegiate Academy a thriving high school, right? Because there's too much money in that building. And damn, they spent a lot of money building that building. So no one is really concerned about those children. Donald Trump is pushing a business model. That's what he did yesterday with that black woman grabbing her baby like she had won the Mega Millions for $300 million, and she just got into another public school. That's kind of that. But guess what? That's not his agenda. His agenda isn't to fix North, and neither should it be. That's Baraka's agenda. That's what his agenda should have been from the beginning, right? But if he was, and remember, that's Mr. Umgawa Black Power. He cared about all them black kids, and he'll never capitulate. But he capitulated on our children, on our children's water. He just made a mockery of a movement of black empowerment, and unfortunately, black folks in North bought that hook, line, and sinker. And don't you tell that dirty secret that he's a horrible human being because he's black, right? So I've called Trump an orange dude. I've been massively disrespectful in that space because that's what I feel. But at the same time, I don't mind calling Baraka a fake Umgawa Black Power, but that's not the large narrative that we hear. We are a very sad people at this juncture, Eric. And I don't know, with the ADOS hat on, looking cute, I don't know how many minds and souls you're gonna change.
Right. So here's the deal. What I like to do now, Jody, is call people to the mat. Right? Finally call them out and say, where do you stand? Now, if you choose not to stand anywhere, then I understand that. So go sit down so that I can keep moving forward, right? Like my father said, those who you won't let die won't let you live. So if you want to die, I'm going to let you die. Fight with me, then let's fight. But we have to begin to separate the wheat from the chaff. So part of what it is, that part of my journey now is to do that. So I know, for instance, you as my sister, Kevin as my brother, Diane as my sister. I know we rock together. And if it's just going to be the four of us in the foxhole, I know what I got. You understand what I'm saying? But what I don't need in the foxhole with me is somebody who's going to stab me in the back while I'm trying to fight the enemy. So I'm just trying to separate the wheat from the chaff. Not trying to save everybody. We talked about this before. I want an arc. And I just want to have the people who want to save their lives on that arc. And then let's be about the business of saving our lives, right? The rest of the people, let them go. We got to let them go because they're holding us back. They're keeping us. We saw in history, whether it's true or whether it's a folklore that was told, but they said that as Harriet Tubman was trying to lead slaves off the plantation through the Underground Railroad, those who wanted to turn back, she shot them in the head. You understand what I'm saying? That's what we got to do. That's what we got to do. You're done. You're gone. We got to cancel you out. So when we label them and we said the scarlet letter of Negro Whisperer, the scarlet letter of slave catcher, so that we could easily identify who they are. Because for so long, and Kevin calls them the barbarians within the gate, these are the ones that for a long time we haven't been able to identify. See, before we knew clearly who the enemy was because they looked differently than we did. But then what had happened was those who look like us, right, started taking brown bags of money to destroy us, and we got a little bit confused. And now we got to shine a light on it all, call them what they are. And like you said, people feel some sort of way. They get caught in their feelings when we look at a guy like Ras Barak and we call him a Negro Whisperer and we call him a slave catcher because you emotionalize it. But you're not looking at the fact that our children are dying. And every single year that he signs his name on to a group of candidates to sit on the Board of Education, right, that is failing our children, and then we disconnect that from what we see in the street in terms of our children having no opportunity, right, and then their remedy for lowering crime is locking them up, not giving them opportunity, but feeding a system that we then on some level emotionalize and say, oh, we're unjustly treated. We're mass incarceration, right? It's all nonsense.
Absolutely. Listen, when the Spanish cop, when the Spanish cop killed a black man in Newark, New Jersey, everyone fell silent, right? That didn't go national. And these people had fundraisers for the cop and collected money for the cop. Elected officials did this, right? You don't hear the uproar. I never understand it. But, it has become our way. And so I do believe that I can't be mad at Donald Trump. Donald Trump is not my enemy.
Ain't my problem.
Not at all.
No, you're not my problem. Ras Barak is my problem. Ted Green is my problem. Tony Voss is my problem. All those people on the Board of Education in Newark are my problem. Those 17 people up in Orange who want to run not to be servants and help us get economic and political power, those people in Orange who want to run to be self-serving, they are my problem. And so I'm not going to focus on the State of the Union and get emotionalized about Donald Trump and what he said and what he didn't say. I'm going to identify those folks in Orange as slave catchers and Negro whisperers, and I'm going to kick them off the island. I'm going to align myself with folks in Irvington who really want to seize economic and political power and kick those folks off the island in Irvington who want to continue to be managers of poverty. That's where my focus is. Get on code.
Absolutely. It was just talking to you guys again.
I love you, Jody. Thanks, sis.
I love you guys as well. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you, Jody. Now, I got to go see my doctor and check my blood pressure now.
Eric, I love it. You say
get on code. Come on now.
That's very good, Eric. I'm not stepping on that.
Listen, tomorrow we're going to be at Farrakhan Sawab's, and we're going to be discussing, and I'm going to pull it up. And you know what? I didn't realize tomorrow's my daughter's birthday, so we're gonna be doing it on my daughter's birthday, man.
Well, listen, I want to tell all of the Informed class members if they have some topics they would like us to touch on, if you can send them to me the night before, I would be more than willing to touch on them. That'd
Absolutely.
be great. I appreciate that.
Hey, listen, guys. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We'll see you for our unveiling of, or unwrapping, I should say, right, of the Willie Lynch letter and the making.
This is our third book, right?
This is our third book, man.
Wow, we're moving pretty fast.
Oh, I think we got a call before we go off. Come on, call or go. 12:05.
Hey, I just wanted to say peace, and I will see y'all tomorrow.
All right.
Hey, Farrakhan, man, I'll bring you another loaf of bread. Hey, you know what, Kevin? I'm gonna bring you a loaf of this bread. I know you don't eat bread, but I'm gonna bake bread tonight. I'm gonna bring you and Diane a loaf of my bread.
Why it's got to be Diane and I? You have bought Diane things before, so why does it have to be Diane and I? Why can't I just have the bread by myself?
Stop hating, Kev. Stop hating.
Hey, listen, man. Look. I talked about Noah and the ark. Now I'm bringing loaves of bread. What do you want from me?
Hey, look. I'm going to write a personal note to Nicki Minaj today, apologizing to her.
Yeah. You better do that.
Girl, I ain't apologizing. They need to stop looking alike. But I'm going to go on her Twitter page. Hey, I'm going to go on her Twitter page and say, I said some nasty things about you at Kevin Jenkins.
Oh, man. All right. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Please hit the share button. Love you all.